High School has participated in an educational and cultural exchange with a school in Newtown, China as part of the Newtown International Center of Education, or NICE. The program has been cited as a national model and has been a great success, so much so that it's expanding. Here to talk about the Newtown High School China Initiative are Amanda Friedman, who's the NICE Assistant Program Coordinator, and Katherine Matz, who's the lead chaperone in project research. Nice to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us.
You know, when I first heard about NICE, I said, well, what are you talking about? It's NICE or Newtown, but what do you mean by NICE? And Newtown International Center for Education. How did that get started?
Originally, it started with a partnership with one school in Liaocheng, China, and it was started by our superintendent, Janet Robinson, and Jason Huro, who is the program coordinator, kind of took over the project. And it initially started as just a cultural and experiential exchange between our school and their school. And the first time they came over in February. And then our first delegation of teachers and administrators was in April 2009.
So how was the whole China initiative put together?
Originally, it was started with a conversation. I think that's how a lot of things start, where there are two parties that are interested in having an experience, and China is very different and very similar at the same time to America, but both parties, the schools, the administrators, and the communities were interested in learning as much as they could about culture, about education, and having an opportunity to bring experiences to their students.
So the first year of the program, we had, what occurred in the first year of the program?
In the first year of the program was the seminal year, and the delegation of teachers, administrators, and students came from Liaocheng in February. And then in April, we had 25 or 26 teachers, administrators, superintendent, assistant superintendent go to China. And the experience is twofold. It's both traveling, sightseeing, and experience at our sister school. So we spend time in Beijing, and we also spend time at our school.
So in the next year of the program, we actually had students traveling to Newtown and students from Newtown High School going to China. How was the trip?
Well, I think it went very well. Our students really seemed to enjoy themselves. There's a lot of cultural immersion involved in the trip for our students as well as for our staff, but especially for our students, and they really took to that. They really rose to the occasion.
And what do you mean by cultural immersion?
They stayed in family homes, whereas the staff stayed in hotels. So they followed the family schedule, they went to class, they ate the food with the family. They really did everything. It was a full cultural immersion.
And how was the reaction to that experience from the students?
It was definitely, I think, well received, but it was certainly an experience for them. I think for many of them, it was traveling for the first time. So it was a bit of a culture shock to go from their comfortability of an American experience to living with a family that they may or may not be able to communicate completely with, and having an opportunity to see what it's like to live in that kind of environment. But I think by and large that it was an experience that they'll never forget. I, as an adult, was a little bit jealous, to be completely honest, to have that kind of opportunity.
What was the preparation like for the teachers and students to get ready for that trip to China?
Every month we would have one or two meetings and discuss various things, from anything from language lessons with Mr. Ding, experience, videos, clips, looking at supplemental reading material, talking about culture, different etiquette, what it's like to entertain different experiences, how to deal with media, especially when we go to our sister school. It's a large affair where there's a lot of press, newspapers, their television. It's a city, but it's a developing city, so Americans coming to their town and city is a pretty amazing experience for the people that are there.
Well, and I think the preparation was really key for everybody who went, because you're exposed to such different things in your environment and what you're eating and who you're talking to and how to behave and conduct yourself in a polite manner according to their standards. And that prep is really key so that you don't accidentally offend somebody or, come across as ignorant.
It sounds like during the trip everybody was successful. Their training worked well. And you mentioned Mr. Ding. Mm-hmm. Who is Mr. Ding?
Mr. Ding, he is a Mandarin teacher. He's been at the school, I think that this is his 3rd year, and he came as an exchange. Originally it was a pilot program for 1 year, but it was met with such success, and it's a very popular language program at the school, that he stayed on for 3 years.
So he came from China? Mm-hmm. And from Laocheng?
Not from Laocheng. He's through a program through College Board.
Okay.
And we're hoping to continue the Mandarin program even after he leaves.
So what is the educational value of this type of a cultural and educational exchange?
Wow, I don't even know really where to begin. I mean, first and foremost, it's hard to talk about this program without talking about the opportunity to experience culture and experience life that other people see it and live it. But secondarily, and just as important, there have been a lot of opportunities for interdisciplinary work. I know for myself and for the other teachers that have gone on the trip, they bring it back to their classroom. So their experiences are infused into their daily practices, and sharing their experience with the students helps the students who may not have gone on the trip sort of have a piece of what that is as well.
So what's an example of how you as a teacher bring it back to the classroom?
Well, a lot of my students are very shy, and I work primarily with freshmen, and they don't have an easy time getting involved at the high school. They're intimidated. So coming back from China, and all my students, of course, were very excited to hear about it, and being able to share my experiences made them more aware of some of the opportunities that we have as a high school, and also more willing to get involved because it's so much fun. It's not high pressure. It's not limited just to students with a certain GPA or a certain academic background. So it sort of opens the doors for a lot more students who might feel excluded otherwise.
Did you find that the students had a different appreciation for where they live and the different cultural differences between the two countries?
I think so.
Well, the differences in the school systems alone are pretty vast in a lot of ways, and so our students, of course, enjoy hearing about the differences as theirs do as well. For example, in China, their students don't move class to class. They stay in one room and the teachers kind of come through. And in the high school, everybody moves. So they thought that was very interesting to stay in the same room all day, and wasn't it great they get to move around. So some of the things were like pros and cons, but it was nice for our students to be able to evaluate that in other cultures things might be very different, and it's not bad or good, it's just different.
And yet, I think the students from China and Newtown also found a lot of things that they had in common.
Absolutely. I'm an English teacher, and I teach sophomores, and the main focus of the English curriculum in 10th grade is looking at culture. So when I come back from my trip, I often show a slideshow of pictures. And it's very interesting. Not only do they see how vastly different things are, but they have a true understanding of maybe their experience isn't so different from theirs. As a teenager, they share a lot of common interests. You know, they like to go to movies and spend time with their friends, and talk about those kinds of things. Want the newest piece of technology, and they definitely see that in practice when either they go to China or our delegates, they come visit here in February.
So the program's been very successful. It's got national recognition, and it's now looking to be expanded further in China.
Absolutely. So we are further developing our partnership with Laocheng, our original sister school. This coming April, we have our regular trip with our delegates, students, teachers, and administrators, but 2 students and 1 teacher will be staying there for a month experience, in addition to teachers and students coming to our school from their school for a month. And we're also expanding. Last year, during our April trip, we signed a formal partnership with Jinkai Experimental Middle School in Shanghai.
So what will that mean in terms of will it be a similar program with Shanghai that you're enjoying with Laocheng? Is that kind of the...
It's a little bit different. Okay. Our sister school partnership with Liaocheng is cultural and also has a lot to do with the student and teacher exchange experience. And the focus of the Shanghai partnership is professional development for teachers and administrators. So the while it is also a cultural experience, Shanghai is very different from other parts of China, but the primary focus is giving our educators and administrators an opportunity to talk about best practices, their educational system as compared to ours, and what kinds of practices and things we can learn from each other.
And have you found some value in that as teachers, being able to see how education is undertaken in China versus how it's undertaken here?
Absolutely.
What are some of the pluses and minuses you've seen, or what have you taken away from it that you've applied?
I think that last year we had an opportunity to observe many of the classes, and the year before that on the trip we had an opportunity to facilitate lessons. And having a chance to look at the classes, the makeup of the students, and the way that the teachers facilitate the content, in addition to talking with them. We had multiple opportunities to sit down and really talk, have an opportunity to ask questions and have conversations about what standardized testing is like, what kinds of practices we have for behavior management, talking about a balance between content and personal creativity. It's interesting. I think that the work ethic there is a little bit different from America, but in America we have an opportunity for personal growth, creativity, and things like that. So we're trying to take a little bit of both from each other.
Well, Amanda and Katherine, thank you so much for being here. It's a very exciting initiative, which I'm sure we'll be hearing more about. You can learn more about the Newtown High School China Initiative by going to www.newtown.k12.ct.us and clicking on the icon for Newtown International Center for Education. Thank you. Ooh, can't get it out. Thank you for taking time to watch Newtown's World. I'm your host, Gary Davis. Until next time, live well. I didn't get